Hey, buddies, fellow Franco fans. It is I, your host, Jason Rudy from Desperate Visions Productions. And right now we're in post-production, of course, on the two films. Going ever so slowly, but they are moving ahead with care and singularity, so it's always the way to be. Before I jump into it, I just want to say I just got back from seeing The Batman as I record this in modern times here. What is this, 2022? Or 2022, yeah, 2022. And yeah, I very much enjoyed it. I thought Colin Farrell was amazing as Penguin. And of course, Robert Pattinson was good, and Batmobile rocked, and I loved all the visual stuff in it and everything. So, yeah, it was just a little bit too long. I wish they would have trimmed it down in a few sections. Maybe took about 20 minutes off. It would have been a lot tighter. So, but yeah, overall, I thought it was really cool. I'm not sure if you listeners are comic book fans or anything, or if you're Batman movie fans or what. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was one of the better Batman films. So, if you get a chance to check it out in theaters, I recommend it. So. And something else that we can either recommend or disrecommend is, depending on your love or fault of films, is this film 21, right now, from Mr. Jess Franco. And the film in question is Justine. Justine is a West German, Italy, and Liechtenstein, USA, and UK co-productions. So you see all these countries here, and you would be right in guessing that Harry Allen Towers is the famous producer. On the earlier episodes, we'd done more of the Harry Allen Towers films, and now we're going through wrapping up the ones that we skipped over. And Harry Allen Towers was pretty famous for being a producer not with as much of his own money as of with making deals and using all these other people's money in lieu of his money. So he was a good guy to get together to basically get all these people together that had all these money. So yeah, you had West Germany, Italy, Liechtenstein, USA, and UK. So you had 5 different partners in this. 1968 is the year in question. The original theatrical title in country of origin is, check my time here, it looks good, is Marquis de Sade, Justine. That's the German theatrical one. The Italian theatrical title is Justine ovvero le disvincere delle virtù. The disavow of virtue, virtuous. Justine and Giulietta, UK theatrical. Oh, that's interesting. Justine and Juliet, that's her sister. No, there is no Liechtenstein version of the film. All right, so yeah, we have the German version, the Italian, and UK. Alternative titles on the screen: USA, UK theatrical is Marquis de Sade's Justine. French theatrical is Les Infortunes de la Vertu, The Infortunes of the Virtuous. French theatrical poster, de Sade Les Infortunes de la Vertu. And French theatrical Justine ou les Infortunes de la Vertu. Deadly Sanctuary was the U.S. video version that we'll learn more about later. And then Una Pasión Mortal, Spanish video, and Dulce Justine, Spanish video. And yeah, that's about mostly it for the other BBC, mission sheets and stuff, Misfortunes, Virtue, and all that. All right, production companies that Mr. Towers got together on this one is Corona Film Production out of Munich, AICA, IKEA Cinematografia out of Rome, Etablissement Sargon out of Vaduz, Liechtenstein. And then you have the mighty AIP, American International Pictures, out of Los Angeles, California, home of the Doors. And then finally, Towers of London, out of London. That's Harry Allen Towers Company, uncredited, of course, because he didn't use money. Well, I'm sure he used some. And then, of course, 1968, Establishment Sargon, out of Liechtenstein, English language prints. Theatrical distributors on this, Constantin Films out of Munich, CIDIF, Consorzio Italiano Distributori Indipendenti Film. American International Pictures, of course, Los Angeles, and finally Anthony Balick Films Limited out of London. Of course, we get all information out of Murderous Passions, The Delirious Cinema of Jesus Franco, Volume 1 by Stephen Thrower. All right, so a timeline on this. Shooting date, May 21st to June 23rd, 1968. So just about a month, not bad. 30 days or so. The Italian visa issued was April 1st, April Fool's Day of 1969, and it played Italy-Rome on April 5th of 1969. And let's see, Germany Consort Certificate, May 27th of 69. And let's see, West Germany, June 13th, 1969. Played France, March 4th, 1970. And UK, the X issued as Justine and Giulietta on July 28th, 1971. So yeah, you see that they have the Italy, Germany, Italy, West Germany, France, and UK, but you see no USA, and you'll soon learn why. Theatrical running time, France 105 minutes, West Germany 102, and UK 104 minutes. Cast on this, I'll go through everybody, but just give you some of the highlights here. Klaus Kinski, of course, as the Marquis de Sade, kind of a wasted role for him, which he had a few wasted roles for Jess. Romina Power plays Justine. Maria Rome plays Juliet. Rosemary Dexter plays Claudine, a prostitute. Carmen Delirio plays Madame de Bisson, brothel owner. The great Akim Tamiroff plays Monsieur de Harpin. Mercedes McCambridge is awesome. Madame Dubois, the condemned prisoner. Serena Vergano. Let's see, Mike Brendell is in here, awesome, as Pierre. Harold Lipitz as Ramon the Artist. Horst Frank as Marquis de Brissac. Angel Petit as Yemin, the Marquis' friend. Sylvia Cosina, Howard Vernon, Jack Palance, Rosalba Neri. Really good cast on this if you look at it. I haven't watched this in a long time, but yeah, you got Kinski, Rome, Akim Tamiroff, Mercedes McCambridge. You have them of 99 Women. Then you got Mike Brendell, of course, from the earlier Franco films, and with Angel Petit. And then, of course, Howard Vernon and the old cast, and then Rosalba Neri, who's like, this is her third film or fourth film by now. She had 90 Women in this, and Lucky and stuff. So, and then of course Jess Franco. So yeah, really, really good mix and match here as I look through the credits. Directed, of course, by Jess Franco. Screenplay Harry Allen Towers as Peter Welbeck. Eric Kronke. Yeah, okay. Based on the novel Justine et les Messieurs de les Vertus by the Marquis de Sade. Director of photography, Manuel Marino. Editor, Nicholas Wentworth. Music by Bruno Nicolai. Produced by Harry Allen Towers, of course. And let's see who else we see here that catches my eye. Good, looks good. Okay, so production notes. I'm not going to go through all these, but I'm going to just knock off some of the things I was reading earlier. Justine, based on the scandalous 18th century novel by the Marquis de Sade, was made by Jess Franco in Spain in the summer of 1968. It's a lavish, well-upholstered production with plenty of its reputed $1 million budget up on the screen. However, for a variety of reasons, ranging from bad casting to the commercial and censorship pressures of the day, it failed to achieve its director's ambitions. According to Franco, the initial suggestion to make the film came from Harry Allen Towers, who gave him a script he had been working on, based on the Marquis de Sade's Justine. Franco approved the treatment and leaped at the chance to bring one of his favorite writers to the screen. According to Towers, the film was initially set up as a Spanish-Italian-French co-production, but after reading the script, the Spanish co-producers declared that they would have to pull out because of the high likelihood of trouble from the Spanish authorities. Nevertheless, the production was shot in Spain for 7 weeks. Actually, more than 4. in Barcelona's picturesque Gothic quarter, which had the unfortunate effect of drawing attention from the Spanish authorities. The Dirección General de Espectadores demanded the disciplinary proceedings be instigated against the production, and the incident further soured Franco's already factious relationship with the Spanish film establishment. Though bought by AIP for American distribution, Justine appears never to have been shown in U.S. cinemas. In fact, the first American release for Jess Franco's film came in 1986, when it was released on video under the title Deadly Sanctuary. The reason would seem to have a lot to do with AIP's concurrent production de Sade, 1969, a hugely expensive and ill-fated project which was completed by an uncredited Roger Corman after director Cy Endfeld dropped out. Having thrown so much money at this project, AIP may have decided that the Towers Franco film acquired as part of the package was likely to hinder the financial returns of their own production, and so quietly shelved it. All right, review by Stephen Thrower. I'm just going to go over some of his review. Despite a great cast and high production values, the story of a virtuous innocent hanging on to her morals and her hymen while being abused by an all and sundry lacks the essential aura of Sadean malevolence. Despite some memorable sequences, the tone wavers drastically and at times sinks to comedic bawdiness, more akin to the Carry On films than the lacerating wit of the Marquis. At over 2 hours long, and with little sex and violence, Justine tends to drag, and while the attractive Barcelona locations afford plentiful eye candy, you would hope for more than a well-heeled costume drama from an adaptation of one of the most shocking novels ever written. For all of its risque elements and the scent here and there of Sade's cruel humor, Justine is almost as chaste and uptight as its heroine. Its knees are firmly locked together, its asshole tightly clenched. Flashing just a few heaving bosoms, Justine is governed by the limitations forced upon it by its American producers, by Towers' lackluster script, and the failings of its inexpressive female lead. The latter issue was especially vexatious to Franco. He had intended the role of Justine for the English actress Rosemary Dexter, but found himself at the last minute forced to cast Tyrone Power's daughter Romina. Let's see. It says basically that's Franco's quoted as saying that Power was totally incapable of playing a masochist character. Thus, I was forced to change the whole screenplay, turning it into like Disney-like fairy tale where the girl has become a simpleton lost in a nightmare's forest. He says, it was very difficult for me because she was a passenger wandering around as if I were making Bambi 2. Let's see. So it says that, it basically goes over the basis of the film, but I'm not going to go over all that. But yeah, he says that basically, wonderful though it is to see Klaus Kinski play the Marquis de Sade, which is great casting. These wraparound scenes are largely superfluous, and it's actually quite a perverse waste of Kinski's talents to have him simply pacing and scribbling when he could have delivered so much more. Yeah, that's one thing I will say, because I haven't watched it yet. I saw this film years ago before I got into Jess Franco, and watched it for Klaus Kinski and everything, and Jack Palance. And yeah, I remember thinking that it was cool to see Kinski as Marquis de Sade in this, but his performance is wasted, to have him and not do anything like that. Let's see. It goes through. Despite the fact that Justine proposes itself as a literary adaptation, there are times when the bowdlerization of a de Sade is so grievous that one must try to forget the source material and look upon the film as just a racier than average period romp. In the misplaced moral scheme of the Tower script, we're supposed to feel sympathy for poor Justine, even as we get our jollies watching her molested. Personally, though, I wasn't buying it for a minute. I lost what simple... Okay, let's see. Yeah, so yeah, it's basically... Okay, so yeah, he's talking about his ideas as things. Okay, so let's see. Fortunately, two magnificent actors, Jack Palance and Mercedes McCambridge, breathe such fire into their roles that they make the film worth watching. Many of the Franco Towers films boast prestigious acting talent, but these two trump the lot of them. And the lot is including Christopher Lee, George Sanders, Leo Glenn, Klaus Kinski, and Herbert Law. Mercedes McCambridge is fast becoming one of my favorite actresses on the basis of Justine and 99 Women. In both films, she outclasses everyone around her. Just listen to her as Madame Dubois, libertine madam and master criminal, rasping as Romina Power and curling her tongue around an outrageous French accent, and you'll understand why William Friedkin was so shrewd and perceptive, casting her as the voice of the demon in The Exorcist. As for Palance, playing the lascivious lust worshipper Brother Antonin, he's gloriously out of control. According to Franco, his riotous performance was due to being utterly shit-faced on red wine by 7 o'clock each morning. This may sound like a idle gossip, but watching him rant and rave and bounce off the scenery, you would happily lay money on the truth of it. Palance can barely speak without affecting some kind of demoniacal grimace, delivering each syllable with the emphasis previously unendured by the English language. And so our search goes on and 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 on, he raves. Perhaps there's no end to it. Still, we seek for what we do not know. He's like a force, Tyngale, rushing through the film. The combination of a grand setting, the arcane poise of the unholy order, and the pungent aura of derangement as Palance soars over the top saves Justine's later stages from sinking into tedium. If the whole film were as entertaining as this, it would be a masterpiece. Incidentally, during Palance's rant, there's a curious eclipse, possibly a missing line. Brother Antonin declares that he and his brethren are meditating on the supreme pleasure. Sadly, the audio fades down and we don't hear what that is. Knowing Sade, it's either a murder, Daphne, or some stomach churning combination of the two. Alright, so I'm done with the film, kind of the storyline, but yeah. Okay. Franco on screen. One of the highlights of this overstuffed romance is Franco's own role as the host of a body show featuring the reluctant Justine. The girl is compelled by Madame Dubois to pose nude in front of a packed house of leering theatergoers as Franco, front of the house, delivers some cock-and-bull story about the girl being raised by monkeys. Barking at her to disrobe, he puts himself in the spotlight as a purveyor of pulchritude. By now, surely even the gentlest viewer has lost patience with Justine herself. If so, her awkwardness and embarrassment arouse nothing but the innocent merriment of the wicked. Alright, cast and crew. 16-year-old Romina Power, the poor child, is hopeless as Justine, a failure for which Jess Franco and just about every critic of the film has enthusiastically thrashed her ever since, metaphorically, of course. I'm sure Sade himself would thoroughly appreciate the shame that's been heaped upon her. It's with this in mind that I join in the revels, pointing out, for instance, that the sullen and disinterested expression she wears when told she must be searched bodily for Desroches' missing brooch. You'd think she was a hardened prison inmate going through the motions, where she ought to be quivering wreck, humiliated beyond belief at the thought of being inspected in a room full of leering men. It's just not even a matter of unsuitability for sadomasochism. When the wicked Madame Dubois inveiges Justine in her prison escape plan and tells her to scream the place down at the allotted time, Power's performance has all the hysterical intensity of an Englishman hailing a cab. It's worth noting that Romina Power was engaged at the time to Albano Carisi, an Italian pop star with 7 hit singles under his belt between 67 and 69. Power married him in 1970, 2 years after the Franco film was shot, and they began recording together. With the Albano Powers relationship all over the gossip mags in 68, it was probably the film's Italian co-producers who were keenest to get her into the production. Albano was also present on the set, which incensed Franco all the more. He was taking pictures and he was a prick. That's funny. With the exception of the marvelous title music, wisely recycled for Count Dracula the following year, Bruno Nicolai's score, heaving its musical bosom like something from a Joan Crawford flick, is a bit too treachy for my taste. If it's not laboring the romance, it's hammering home slivers of misplaced whimsy. Embarrassing comedy music accompanies the lecherous Desroche spying on Justine as she inadvertently bares her bottom while performing her cleaning duty, while the revels of Madame Dubois the night before her supposed execution are scored to the kind of jolly old English music that, in my view, would simply justify smashing cinema seats. It's far from the composer's finest works, but who cares? It pales in insignificance compared to his future work for Franco. Studios filmed at A Studios Balcazar in Barcelona. Locations: the prison where Justine meets Madame Dubois is the Castillo de Montjuïc in Barcelona. De Bresnac's castle is the Palau Nacional in Sants-Montjuïc, Barcelona. The painter's house where Justine takes refuge is in the Güell Park in Barcelona. Street scenes and the arrest of Justine take place in Plaça de Sant Felip Neri and Plaça de Rei in the Ciutat Vella, Old City district. Studio filming took place at Barcelona's Studio Balcazar. UK theatrical release. Justine, under its UK release title Justine and Juliet, was granted an X certificate. 1:15 minutes. Film was cut considerably by theatrical release. It was playing at double bills in Piccadilly with Erotic Fantasies, 1971. Okay. Connection. Donatanian Alfonso Francois de Sade, 1740 to 1814, is best known as the Marquis de Sade. He was a French aristocrat, philosopher, novelist, and political essayist whose work transformed literature, contributed to the Enlightenment's understanding of the human condition, and revolutionized the conception of human sexuality. In the course of his life, he found himself violently at odds with church, state, and many of his contemporaries, spent long periods in prison, and in his prison life committed acts of sexual cruelty with women in his employment. And in his private life, not his prison life, in his private life, committed acts of sexual cruelty with women in his appointment, which helped to blur the line between his real-life reputation and his writings. The History of Justine, his best-known book, is complicated, as there are 3 quite different versions. It began as a novella called Les Infortunes de la Virtue, written by Sade in his cell at the Bastille during June and July 1787, but never published in his lifetime. It was eventually published in France in 1930. In July 1789, 2 years later, he was transferred to the Bastille, to the asylum at Clarenton, where he was incarcerated for nearly a year before being released in April of 1790. At liberty again, he rewrote and greatly expanded Les Fortunes de la Vertu, turning it into Justine ou les Malheurs de la Vertu, which was published anonymously in June 1791. A third version, La Nouvelle Justine ou les Malheurs de la Vertu, was published in the Netherlands in a 10-volume edition between 1797 to 1801. This third variant changed the narrative voice from first person to third person and expanded the story to include the diametrically opposed experiences of Justine's sister, Giulietta. Franco's film appears to have been based mostly on the second version, although cutaways to the story of Giulietta suggest his familiarity with the third. In 1801, Sade was rearrested. He spent the rest of his life in prison until his death in 1814. So, 13 years in prison until his death. Very sad. And the most widely read variant, Justine ou la Merveille de la Vertu, the story ends where Justine, struck by lightning, in version of the religious expectation of vice struck down and a logical culmination of the travails of virtue. Juliet then renounces her life of libertinage, and heads off in a carriage to join the Carmelite nuns. It's almost comically unsatisfying conclusion that feels blatantly tacked on, lasting as it does for just a page in a book of great expansiveness on other matters. Of course, the prior intensity of lust and the sustained exposition of philosophical argument rendered Julietta's final renunciation utterly unconvincing. We must recall that Napoleon Bonaparte ordered the arrest of the anonymous author of Justine, and neither Sade nor the publisher were in any doubt that the book was incendiary. The last-minute reversal seems to have been a doomed attempt to fend off such attacks. In La Nouvelle Justine, Sade took a very different approach. Told over 10 volumes, the previously published storyline takes us to the ends of Volume 4. Justine completes the recounting of her sorry tale and then reclines in comfort at her sister's house, unmolested by lightning bolts, while Giulietta offers her own stories, told across the next 6 volumes. At the end of Volume 10, we return to Justine and an audience of Giulietta's friends who have gathered to listen to her sister's tales. Concluding, having heard both that Justine and her audience and her adherence to virtue are contemptible, the group throws her out into the stormy night. Let me go through what it is in the story. Okay. All right. Thus are sort of interesting feelings regarding fitting it for the wonderful Justine. Okay. Other versions. Blue Underground's DVD, Marquis de Sade Justine, is the definitive version, running 124 minutes. That's the one I have. In addition to George Cukor's aforementioned Lourdes Drill's adaptation of the same name, Justine is not to be confused with Giulietta de Sade, a.k.a. Mademoiselle de Sade, Isovovenzi, 1969, by Warren Kiefer, an Italian-Swedish co-production distributed in the UK by Anthony Balk under the absurd title Heterosexual. Nor is it to be mistaken for Sandy Janssen's Black and White Justine, 1967, an American sexploitation obscurity marked with the tagline, The Erotic Excesses of Evil. And it is certainly not to be confused with AIP's biopic, in parentheses, de Sade, 1969, directed by Cy Endfeld and starring Keir Dullea, a film so tedious and ill-conceived that it makes Franco's look like a masterpiece. Yeah, I've watched part of that film and it just bored me. Problematica. Some sources credit British actor Anthony Dawson as playing Brother Clement. However, this role is played by Howard Vernon. All right. So yeah, that's all the text, quite a bit on Justine. So, this is film 21, and the next episode will be, of course, episode 83, and we will tackle the Castle of Fu Manchu, which is film 22, the film he did right after Justine, which is the second Fu Manchu film. Blood of Fu Manchu is the other one. We did that way back on an early episode, like number 15 or something like that. So check that out. So that's those two. And after that, we're going to do Venus and Furs for episode 84. And lastly, Eugenie is episode 85. And after those 3, after Justine, then we jump back to episode 86, film 86, Cocktail Special, which is the later era, Jess Franco, where we're at now, about, I think, like 78, 79, somewhere around there. So, all right, so that's kind of what's going on in the next couple weeks in the Franco Observer podcast. So be on the lookout for those episodes. Hang out after the break like you usually do, the bumper music, and listen to the review. It'll be myself and somebody else that you'll hear, or maybe just myself. Be on the listen and you'll see. Surprise for now. Also, too, check out our site on Facebook, Franco Observer Podcast. We're on Instagram, Franco Observer Podcast. We have a donation button. You're always welcome to donate whatever you want to. You can also get a hold of us if you wish on email at francoobserver@yahoo.com. And always please download the episodes and subscribe to the podcast so you'll get a episode downloaded every Wednesday morning early in your inbox, and it'll be there when you wake up to listen to whenever you choose. So yeah, check that out, download all that good stuff, subscribe, tell your friends, donate, rate the episodes if you get a chance, and spread the word, please, on the Franco Observer Podcast. We're getting close to episode 100, man, so that's pretty darn good. So let's keep pushing through, and I'll be looking forward to doing number 100, and I hope you are around to listen to. So, all right, well, hang out past the bumper music, and you will hear the review of Justine. Buenas noches. Hello, buddies, fellow Franco fans. It is I, your host, Jason Rudy from Desperate Visions Productions, a Sacramento, California-based filmmaking group, and just doing some editing on Lady Hyde, and I've been happy with it. Working last 4 days, knocking that out after a little break, and looking good, feeling good, and happy with all the results that I've done on that. So, good sailing ahead, and may the demon winds of Pazuzu blow me to my destination aboard my dream sailboat like we love in the Jess Franco films. Speaking of sailboats, not to jump the list or anything, but this film right here, for episode 82, film 21, the first time he ever made Justine, his first Marquis de Sade film. This was Marquis de Sade's Justine. And yeah, there's no sailboats in this film, which is crazy, or no boats at all. But that's going to be on the list later, and that's a little sneak preview. So, yeah. So as you listened earlier in the beginning to Justine, and I'm going to go ahead and knock this review out by myself, and in lieu of time, so I stay on track and keep the episodes weekly. Because the person who's going to help me out on this one is on vacation right now, so instead of waiting, I figured I would just knock it out. So, and she's having a great time, so all is good. So, all right, this is Justine, and I just got done watching it literally like maybe 10 minutes ago. Well, I watched it, and then I watched the documentary on the Blue Underground. I've had this DVD, well, let's see, this came out in 2002. I've had this DVD since about 2002. I used to work at a video store, and the copy I'm holding in my hand now is the DVD version by Blue Underground, and I think I'm going to go out and get the Blu-ray very soon. I really, really, really like this film a lot. I'm a big fan of the Marquis de Sade, and read of many of his literature, books, and all that stuff, and really dig it. And this film really captured the spirit of the Marquis de Sade, and yeah, I was really impressed. Very lavish film, and much better than I thought, because like I said, I had this disc since about 20 years now, and I'd watched it maybe once back then, maybe a part of a second time, and I didn't really think too highly of it. But yeah, watching it tonight, of course, 20 years later, as a big Jess Franco fan, way more than I was 20 years ago. I really dug this film, and I would say out of let's see, this is episode 82, and I've done 83, so I'd say out of about 88, I'm going to say 90 Franco films, this has to be maybe my top 15 or so. So yeah, big new fast fan of Justine. So like I always do, I'm going to go into the synopsis of it, kind of tell you the little rundown of the film. It's cool too, because the version, this is Blue Underground, this is the definitive cut, and when it was cut when it was released to the U.S., they cut it by 30 minutes because it was like 2 hours, and they cut it by 30 minutes and put it on a double bill and really fucked with it. But the Blue Underground version restored the full cut of the film. It's like 2 hours and 4 minutes with the intro and outro music and original title cards and everything, and it looks really good. So yeah, I was really happy with this. So, all right, here we go. Synopsis: The Marquis de Sade is sent to prison at the Bastille. Inflamed with the rage of his fantasies, he begins writing. In a convent, Justine and her sister Juliette are informed that their father has died. Since the church no longer receives his money, the girls are put out on the street. Juliette, practical and worldly, heads for a brothel run by Madame de Bresson. Justine, however, is shy and innocent and cannot bear to stay. In the city square, she encounters a Catholic priest who offers to look after her money and sends her to find sanctuary at the end of his friend, Monseigneur de Harpin. However, the innkeeper has never heard of the priest, and Justine realizes she's been conned out of all of her worldly wealth. Du Harpin offers her work as a maid. A tenant tries to molest her, but she resists. She's accused of stealing from a tenant, Monseigneur de Roches, and carted off to prison, where she meets Madame Dubois, a murderess. Dubois escapes, taking Justine with the intention of pimping her. When Dubois' gang try to rape the girl, Justine flees. She meets Raymond, a handsome young painter, who wins her trust. However, soldiers come looking for her, and she is forced to flee again. Juliette, meanwhile, is busy with a plot to steal a vast amount of money from one of her clients. In the woods, Justine meets a rich nobleman, the Marquis de Brissac, who is also frolicking with his male lover. He takes Justine back to his mansion and employs her as his wife's maid. The Marquis is planning to kill his wife. Upon succeeding, he frames Justine for the murder. She is branded with an M for murderess and released. Justine seeks help at a monastery where, unbeknownst to her, monks known as the Brethren indulge in all manner of sadistic debauchery. They chain Justine and torture her. Brother Antonin, the leader of the Brethren, recognizes in Justine the true face of suffering. Here's a girl who feels it is her spiritual duty to endure. A night of agony for Justine and joyful wickedness for Antonin is brought to an unexpected end when lightning strikes the monastery. Justine escapes and makes her way back to Paris. She is taken in by Madame Dubois, who now runs a burlesque nightclub. Justine is made to stand naked on the stage. The M branded into her flesh is spotted by a crowd, and they bay for her to be executed. When all seems lost, Juliette, who has married into wealth, steps in and rescues her sister. Justine is reunited with Raymond and lives happily ever after. Back in his cell in the Bastille, the Marquis de Sade runs his hand across his face in anguish, then crosses out the last line of his manuscript. So yeah, that was the film, The Marquis de Sade's Justine. And yeah, like I said, kind of went into it kind of thinking, okay, watch this, for the podcast and see what it is. I was thinking it was going to be like kind of boring, kind of overblown, melodrama. But no, it was really well made. Like you could tell, there's a lot of stuff I was thinking when I was watching it. That a lot of the 80s, maybe 70s, 80s, like Victorian movies and that kind of took a lot from this. You can kind of see, the powdered wigs and architecture and everything, and just the storyline and the sneaking in and out of different houses, noble houses and that, and going. It's like that storyline has been done quite a bit before. Later on, like 70s, 80s, and yeah, like with erotic comedies and Victorian films and those type of powdered wig films. So yeah, it was good. I like I said, I really liked it. Okay, let me think what I'm going to go over here. All right, so this was film 21. It starts off again. You see the famous castle shot that you see later for Dr. Fu Manchu, and I think Succubus possibly, but definitely for Justine and Castle Fu Manchu, and then the castle he uses quite a bit later on. It's funny you see that really fast. And so, yes, I'll go over this stuff later. I really liked, starting off, I really liked, even though he's only in it, okay, now, Harry Allen Tower says they got Klaus Kinski for like a half a day, because of his rate and everything, and because I think he'd just done a Fistful of Dollars for a few dollars more, and it was doing a lot of Italian spaghetti westerns and that, and so he had his high day rate, and supposedly they got him for half a day rate, and then just kind of shot a long day. Franco said it was bullshit. They got him for 2 days, 1 day interior, 1 day exteriors, but I don't know. I believe Harry Allen Towers because they have him for a really cool, nice horse carriage shot, like a nice stagecoach kind of. He's backseat of there. He's coming across a bridge, and it's a nice shot. Him looking at the camera, kind of burns the lens, and he kind of goes into his cell, which is a nice thing. And you can tell that was maybe done 1 or 2 takes. It's not like it's some major thing. Because he has no dialogue in the film, too, which is funny because the next film he does, Form Count Dracula, I guess he was under the impression it wasn't a Dracula film or whatever, is what Harry Allen Tower says, but I don't know if that's true. But yeah, he has no dialogue in that film either, which is interesting. That the 2 films that he's in, he has no dialogue, except later on when he's Jack the Ripper. I know he talks in that, I believe so. But anyway, back to this. So he has no dialogue in that, and they bring him in. It's all the scenes are him just in the cell, and it's all just out of focus shots, in focus, zoom in, zoom out, and then just him reacting to things and writing. So yeah, I can see that taking a half day or maybe a day at the most. So yeah, it's not that hard. So that's interesting, and I guess he was pissed because they put him in top billing, even though he's only shot for half a day. Everybody else has shot so much more. So he's only, I should say, and Klaus Kinski or something, or with Klaus Kinski. But anyway. But yeah, he is a good Marquis de Sade. He looks great. I'm not sure what the Marquis de Sade looked like, but to be honest with you, off the top of my head, I'm sure I've seen a drawing or something. But yeah, the vision of Klaus Kinski with the powdered wig and the shaved face and that time frame, I guess he's maybe in his 30s or something. He looks really cool. So yeah, he's a good Marquis de Sade for this. Good casting. I guess too they had said that they had Orson Welles lined up, but he didn't want to do it because it was an erotic film, and I guess he thought it was going to be worse than it was, or I don't know what he was thinking, but so he dropped out. But yeah, I can see Orson Welles as that kind of that 60s stunt casting. Oh yeah, one other thing I was going to say too when I watched this, and I haven't really read this anywhere else, so I'm sure maybe somebody else has said this, or maybe not, or maybe it's just like oh yeah, shit, I never thought about that. But yeah, like watching this in '68, of course this came after Lolita, but you could tell that it was kind of a thing like that, or like because I think, let's see, this is '68. Yeah, so the Emmanuel book had already hit, I believe, at this time, and like I Am Curious Yell and all that. Like they have the Swedish sex films and that were starting to make their way in around, and you could tell this movie of like all these older men lusting for this younger woman that has to kind of always escape them and go from one adventure to a next, and all these like a kind of a Alice in Wonderland type thing where she's going to a different alien environment, these noble men, and she's serving, and she goes in these costumes and wears these different wardrobes and takes on these different forms, and from the powdered wig serving the milady, and then the washerwoman in the beginning, the servant, and the work of the maid, and the nuns, and in the monastery, and everything, and then working up to the brothel, and going away from that, and to the stage show, and the prison, and all that, and all her different wardrobes and that. It's kind of interesting. It's almost like Alice in Wonderland, or like that type of Lolita or Candy by Terry Southern, and they did the film. Actually, it was right after this, I believe. So, but yeah, I kind of noticed that whole '60s kind of, erotic comedy, kind of nasty comedy kind of deal. So, yeah, that was interesting. But yeah, so you have a lot of that. Franco also said that this was, like, I guess, the most expensive film he's done. I don't know if rate inflation or what, like with maybe Faceless would be more, but yeah, this was still under about still under $1 million back in '68, and they shot in like 7 weeks. But yeah, you can tell it's a really good budget. They got a lot of good names in it. Talk about performances. Of course, Klaus Kinski's good. Romina Power as Justine, the lead. It's like one of her first movies. She's 17, I guess. But I'm not sure if she's really 17 because she's nude like quite a bit in it, so that's interesting. Maria Rome, of course, is gorgeous and fantastic and great actress and really cool in this as Giulietta. And watching this film, even though she's in it in portions, bookends it, and a little bit in the middle, it really is like the book Justine and Giulietta. So, I thought Justine and Juliet could have been the actual title of it, but I really enjoyed the Justine and Juliet. So, and then Rosemary Dexter played Claudine, a prostitute, and I guess she was originally supposed to play Justine, but yeah, she was kind of like Anne Liebert. Kind of later on, I noticed it was very similar to her in look and in texture and in tone. So, yeah, she's the one that runs off with Maria Rome, and then Maria Rome kills her. Okay, then we have, let's see, Carmen Delir, Akim Tamaroff. He's kind of jokey in this, kind of cartoonish, but he's okay. Mercedes McCambridge is fucking awesome in this as Madame Dubois. Of course, she's later the voice of Possessed Reagan, and I believe like Pazuzu and all that from The Exorcist. And she's really good with this as Madame Dubois. There's a couple times where she really emphasizes her voice when she's speaking to Justine real close to her face, kind of like, well, they talk like this, and then they voice your hair. And she kind of changes her voice a few times, and you could tell, like I read, that, that was a good choice for her with that film, because she's really great in this. And she was a drinker, as was Jack Palance, and supposedly Jack Palance was, like, loaded on set. He'd get up at 7 a.m. and start drinking wine, and you could tell, after I knew that, watching this, you could tell he's drunk in the film. But Jack Palance kicks ass in this fucking film as Brother Antonin. I really enjoyed him a lot. He does narration with his beautiful voice later on in Ripley's Believe It or Not. So you get to hear Jack Palance do cool narration in parts. And he speaks very softly, as Jack Palance likes to do. And in Justine, he does that on the narration. So yeah, I really enjoyed that. And he's somebody that I wish to study and watch more of Jack Palance 60s, 70s films, because I did, Emmanuel and the Deadly Black Cobra, which he was in, really great. And he's somebody that's always in a lot of cool films. So, yeah, I'm definitely a big Jack Palance fan here. All right, so who else do we have in this that's really cool? Oh yeah, and then we have I popped when I saw Mike Brendell again. Mike Brendell, a cool early tough guy looking hatchet-faced dude in the early Jess Franco films, who later Franco turned and got another guy that reminded me of him later. I just spaced his name, in the erotic Rights of Frankenstein, and has a big scar on his face, and the tough guy. Anyway, so, but yeah, he kind of reminds me of him, so that was pretty cool. Who else do I like this? Horst Frank is good. Howard Vernon, of course, is not in it very much as Brother Clement, but he's good with his black wig and his outfit. He kind of had a cool gothic kind of a look. Later, I thought he looked like he could be in a band, like in the 80s or 90s. Definitely very cool in this film. Oh God, how can I forget Rose Albanieri? Rose Albanieri's in this as Floretta, a companion, and you see her like her and the other three girls in here have capes as part of the Four Good Men, which is my favorite part of the film. With they film these gaudy architecture scenes. There's like two gaudy Antonin Gaudi, the famous architect from Spain, and amazing things. In his locations here, just beautiful architecture, beautiful locations. And speaking of beautiful, she's in part of that location, and she's wearing a cape, and her breasts of the dress are cut out, so it's just her boobs are sticking through. And Rosalba Neri's great in this. She has like chains across her, and she's wearing like a cape like a vampire, and her breasts are hanging out of this dress. So beautiful makeup, so you cannot say anything wrong with her. So she's really great in this. And it's interesting because in the end, she has a chance to escape the location, but she feels like she's either a sadist or a masochist, where she has to she's part of the environment. She can't leave, or she doesn't want to leave, or she thinks she's powerless to leave, or she's a prisoner in her own mind, or whatever. So she doesn't leave with Justine. But I thought her part was really good. She explains herself and how long they've been there and everything, and she's chained up in the dungeon and all that. But I guess she seems to get off on that. So, which they talk about that of the eroticism of the enduring, the taking the pain and enduring, and that becoming pleasure out of the endurance of pain. So it's almost a thing interesting, which is distills to a lot of things. The Marquis de Sade found that out with the pain of situations, or pain of injury, or pain in fighting, or like in wrestling, where you get to a certain pain and you just snap or go crazy, or submit, or either submit or you break through and go to the next side and indulge in the pain. And secretly, I think people get into relationships because they want that pain, or they get into bad environments or something, even though they know it's going to have a bad ending. They still know. They say, "Oh yeah, I knew I shouldn't have dated that girl or dated that guy, or I shouldn't have got that job, or I shouldn't have walked into that place. I had a bad feeling." But they want those things, even though it's really, really interesting. So yeah, Marquis de Sade tapped on certain of those subliminal and subconscious things that we do to ourselves, or either willing or unwilling. So, but yeah, it's interesting in this film. But yeah, you see a lot of that with her. And let's see what else we have in this. Jack Palant's narration I thought was awesome. The bathing scene I liked with Julieta, where she kills Claudine, and after they both kill that woman. So yeah, there's a lot of the Marquis de Sade feeling in this of everybody's using everybody all the time, and you're only as good as until you serve your purpose to that other person, and they go on to the next person. They just use, and it's all about getting off and getting on somebody, But yeah, also too, as the lead, which made me think too, Justine, she Romina Power, she reminded me a lot of Susan Hemingway later on in Love Letters of a Portuguese Nun, and the Eugenie that she does later, which is interesting, or Justine, I forgot which one she does later. But yeah, you could tell, even though Franco, I guess, didn't like her, Romina Power, it's interesting they got Susan Hemingway, who looks a lot like her, and has that innocent look to her, so it was interesting. What else do I like in this? Yeah, definitely gaudy architecture was amazing. Man, it's not really acupuncture, but when I guess Rosalba Neri is quote unquote torturing Justine, she's basically putting needles in her back, and there's like she's chained down, and there's like Rosalba Neri pulls out the needle and like kisses her back each time she pulls the needle out. It almost has a Hellraiser look with the needles and the chains and the beautiful face. And but yeah, it was interesting. I was like, wow. The many acupuncturists I've went to over the time, I've never done the acupuncture, the Rosalba Neri style. But yeah, it was interesting. Also, too, a cool scene when Jack Palance is wheeled in on a cart. Instead of walking, he's kind of gliding into the gaudy architecture when they're getting ready to sacrifice Justine before the lightning bolt hits. And that effect is very cool, and Franco uses it later on in Virgin Among the Living Dead, and a couple of, I forgot what else off the top of my head, but he uses it like 2 or 3 times where they're moving across without having to walk. It gives that nice glide look effect on certain otherworldly scenes. That one, of course, is Howard Vernon with the noose around his neck in Virgin Among the Living Dead. And then I think they do one of, oh yeah, that's what it is. Howard Vernon in, that's what it is. The noose is in the other side of the mirror, and then Paul Mueller is also in with the noose in Virgin Among the Living Dead. That's what it is. So yeah, so those two. So they do it here to the glide with that, but of course without the noose. So yeah. What else I liked? Oh yeah, the the Rosemary and the two women are chained to kind of like these sideways crosses, kind of X cross, like in Necronomicon / Succubus. And Harry Allen Towers liked that, so you could tell they kind of wanted to ape that look, which I thought that was pretty cool, and use it for this. And what else I like here? Two Gals, the band. Number 7, Jess on Stage. Oh yeah, Jess on Stage was pretty funny as the kind of the comic. And it was interesting too how in the end Justine thought the moral was that only the wicked prosper, because here she is, going through all the stuff she did of being a virtuous person, and all these trials and tribulations that were thrown upon her, and all this guilt of killing people that she didn't kill, and blamed for things she didn't blame. But meanwhile, her sister killed this woman and killed a guy, and they stole the money, and she killed her accomplice that helped her, and she slept with a nobleman and got all this money, and meanwhile she was a wicked whatever person, and she rose while her sister thing, and she said, well, no, you endured, so now you are being rewarded. And so of course she got to live with her, and the love of her life that really cared for her, the artist Humbert, or whatever his name was, basically got to be with her again, or Hubert, and got to be with her again and live happily ever after in this castle and stuff. But yeah, it was interesting that it's like, even if you live, it's almost a perspective where it's whatever choice you choose, you almost arrive at the same point. So it's whatever. It's all the perspective, whether you want to be a virtuous person and believe in God and be moral and do the right thing and, be a certain path, or whether you think that you should just do what thou will and indulge in every excess, and whether you hurt people or don't hurt people, that's besides your point. You will arrive at a certain point as well. So it's really interesting, and I liked the view they took of this, and showed everything on equal manner and did not judge and left it open to interpretation. So I really enjoyed that, and I really liked it a lot, and I thought it was very intellectual and very interesting film, and really not really erotic or as much, just a lot of great nudity, which was a nice change of pace. Because, speaking of that, first nudity in this film is at 2 minutes 31 seconds, which is good because you're back on the Franco track. Because these early films, these first 25 films or so, not a lot of nudity, so it's good with this being film. Was it 21? And he's already like going fucking full bang with the beautiful naked ladies. So, all right. Speaking of beautiful naked ladies, let's go with the Franco list. List of things that I find that I usually add to over time that we always see in Jess Franco films. Ingredients, situations, questions we ask, and go over things and see what we find. So here we go, Franco list. Item number 1, body of water. This film doesn't have a lot of body of waters to it. Very, very few. You finally see the first one where they're building the stage for her, Madame Dubois, to be executed. You see a body of water in the distance. And then later on you see a lot of fountains and like maybe one other body of water. And that's about it. You don't see no number 2 or number 3. No sailboat, no boats at all in this film. So no sailing of boats or going in ports or anything like that. It's a very landlocked film. So, no water, no sailboats, no dreams. Number 4, palm trees. Not really as much. I think I saw a few, but a lot of other trees, a lot of forest, and going, through a lot of foliage and a lot of trees. But palm trees not as much, but definitely lots of trees in this film. Number 5, jungle sound effects. No, not really no jungles, because she's running, from, I think this is supposed to take place in France or somewhere. Definitely not that. Number 6, chained up person. Yes, very much so. A lot of chained up people in this film, whether in the Marquis de Sade's imagination, right in the beginning, at, 2 minutes 31 seconds, you see, 15 and 16? Oh yeah, red lights, and, number 6, chained up person. Yeah, you see a lot of red. This film has lots of colored lights, but yeah, you see the red light and the chained up person right off the bat. So definitely a lot of chained up people in his imagination. You have Justine chained up a lot. Rosemary chained up. The other 2 women in the basement's chained up. Yeah, a lot of people chained up in this film. Number 7, dance scenes on stage stripping. It surprised me right in the end when they have Julieta and Madame Dubois kidnaps her again for the second time, and she takes her into the traveling show, and she's naked on stage. Before that, there's 2 girls on stage that are in kind of like this kind of cat looking or some kind of animal leotard with makeup on, and they're kind of doing a dance where they're naked on stage, and there's a big crowd of people clapping and stuff, so that was really cool because you haven't seen that for a little bit, and now we have the dance scenes on stage stripping again. Well, no stripping, they're already naked, and club scenes dancing. No dancing in this film, but yeah, you do have the audience watching the 2 naked girls putting on the show. So jazz music, number 9, not really jazz, more of a classical score, a really good Bruno Nicolai score. That's a really strong bit of music all the way through. So yeah, really good with this. Number 10, excessive zooms. Number 11, out of focus shots. Yes, definitely both on this, especially in the beginning and the Marquis de Sade cell, mostly in those sequences, like the first 5-6 minutes, whatever. A lot of zooming in and zooming out of focus, but it's done to show his more mental state and to show things that he's seeing and what's more inside of him and his sensations and his feelings compared to just zooming in and out and doing quick shots. You know, it actually meant something. It actually has meaning to it, his flashes and his feeling, you know. So being an artist, I could identify what he was going for. So very good. Number 13, mind control theme. Well, yeah, if you have Christianity or you know, that type of heavy religious upbringing like she has, raised in a monastery and that, where she can't, you know, do anything with her body, then yeah, that's the mind control theme of religion. So yeah, there's definitely a mind control theme of that type. Number 14, magic tongue scenes. No magic tongue, but you do have Rosalba Neri's magic lips, which might be a new one. And like I said, the scene where she pulls the needles out and kisses her back. But I looked real close because I watched the scene twice because it was an amazing scene. But yeah, no magic tongue, but magic lips. Rosalba Neri's magic lips. So yeah. 15, red light. Oh hell yeah! There's red lights in this. Red lights, green lights, purple lights. Red, purple, green. What else we have in there? Orange lights. A lot of colored lights in this film. It's like way heavy colored lights all the way through. For the red scenes, the brothel, to the colored scenes in the dungeon, to the every time she laid down, there's a purple light on her face, and just lots of colored lights in almost every scene in this film, every interior scene. Number 16, sheepskin rug. Nothing like that. No masturbation scenes. No, nothing like that. 17, mad scientist. No. Creative. Only mad scientist is Klaus Kinski type as Marquis de Sade, but he's a creative type, so no mad scientist. 18, fish tank shot. No fish tank shots, but plenty of shooting through colored glass. Kind of like a mad scientist type, but yeah, nothing of a fish tank. Talking parrot or animals, nope. Number 20, end credits, yes or no? Yes, end credits, there's the end credits, but it doesn't say the end, but there is definitely end credits at the film. Number 21, handwritten notes. No, of course, there's his journal he writes in and that, but no cheesy signs on doors because this is like supposed to take place, I think, in the 18th century, so yeah, everything's all on the up and up, so nothing cheesy on that. Because it's budget, you don't need to have cheap things. Number 23, inept cops. Yeah, you have a lot of the ineptity of them losing the prisoners and them getting away, but them always chasing them and finding them. So they're pretty good, but they are inept because they got away. Oh, also too, they're inept because Madame Dubois escapes along with Justine, but Justine's the one that's caught later on because of the M on her. But Madame Dubois, meanwhile, runs the whole show. She's killed people. And her sister, Julieta, killed multiple people and rose up and never got arrested. So, yeah, there's inept cops in this, definitely. 24, belly chains. Didn't see any belly chains because, like I said, 18th century, not really belly chains. 25, kinks. Well, let's see. Marquis de Sade, so there's the master of the kink right there. So there's so much in this. I didn't really pay a lot of attention because I was just digging the story, but yeah, there's definitely S&M, there's torture, there's pain, there's at the time it was homosexuality with two men. And of course the two women. There's lots of different religious blasphemy. There's so much, just layers and layers of this. There's quite a few. I would say maybe, I don't know, 10 or 15, or there's just quite a bit. So yeah, definitely worth noting of that. Very classically done. Number 26, great headboards. Yeah, I made a note actually because one caught my attention. What did I catch? Great headboards, 26. Giulietta's, Claudine. Claudine's headboard when Giulietta first leaves and gets to the brothel, and she hooks up with Claudine, and they're sitting in their bed listening to the lovers next door before they kill them and steal the money. She has a really cool headboard with like flowers and everything all on it. Really, really nice. So that one caught my attention. I had to note it and write it down. I'm just going to say, too, again, I love Jack Palance. Jack Palance in this film, he's so good. Really, really surprised me how good he was, which was stupid because I always know he's good, but I thought he was going to be a little more low-key in this. But drunk Jack Palance is pretty awesome. So, and finally, number 27. Oh, actually, no, I skipped one. 22, Spiral Staircase Shot. No. Okay. Finally, last one, number 27. Fear or Desire. This film is both, because it's the other side of the coin. Justine fears hell. She fears the consequences she feels of what will happen to her if she indulges in sin, or if she strays from her path, or she fears the desire. And meanwhile, Giulietta has the desire. She longingly leaves the monastery. Her path takes her to the bordello, and she indulges in every desire that she feels. She takes on the sensations and accepts them, and it goes through everything and moving her way up. The killing, the desire of killing, the desire of wealth, the desire of corruption, the desire of whatever she desires, and whatever she is, she doesn't fear anything. So she fears being homeless or being unhappy or being poor or whatever. That's what she fears. So I would say this film is equally fear, equally desire. So the fear of the desire, or the desire of fear. So this is one of those films where it's 50-50 all down the line, and it's all about perception and interpretation and how you see it. So yeah, very, very intellectual based. And I like films that you can talk about, think about, and really it's more than just a surface story. It's a philosophy and a manuscript on life and psychology and people and relationships and society and repression and so much stuff. So yeah, I really, really feel inspired by this film. Very good film. So I would say check it out. I think there's a really nice Blu-ray that was put out by this, but I haven't checked it out yet. But a friend of mine, Ragnar, had talked about, I guess it's like a 3-disc one or something. I'm not sure who put that out, but I'll check it out. It might be Blue Underground, but I think it just went out of print, so I'll have to check it out. But we'll see. Because I know they're 99 Women. One just went out of print, which means probably there's going to be a new distributor or something. So, all right. Well, I'm going to wrap this episode up. I think I've indulged quite a bit. Feel a little bit tired. It's late night here, but I wanted to wrap this up by doing this episode because I really liked it, almost as much as I liked the M brand on Justine's chest. The Four Good Men, man, that's going to be, I don't know, the Four Good Men. I have to kind of think about that. I might want to start the Four Good Men Club, and maybe not have I also have some of the gaudy architecture, but I don't think I can afford that or build that. So yeah, that's not going to work. But yeah, definitely inspired. Very good film, and I give it a high review. Like I said, it's on my Franco top 15 list now of approximately 85 or 90 films that I've seen of Franco. So yeah, it's in the upper echelon. Check it out. High quality stuff. And another high quality thing is a little something called a donation button. If you're high quality, or if you're not, please feel free to donate. One time or reoccurring time. I've already had one person take the plunge and made me very happy. And if you'd like to have me that way as well, please feel free to donate. I would appreciate it. Also, too, download all the episodes, or download the one you're listening to now, and subscribe. You always have a new episode every Wednesday morning around 1 a.m. West Coast time. Always set in your mailbox. I always try to do the exact same time. So it's Wednesday on the West Coast of California, the United States of America. It's 1 a.m. Wednesday mornings is always the time that Franco Observer podcast releases into the world. And if you like the podcast, please tell a friend and share the information and let them know that if they like Jess Franco, or they like hearing about Jack Palance or Rosal Banieri, or Lena Romay, or just everybody, Soldad Miranda, Paul Mueller, talk about them all on this show. And there's always plenty of content for you to listen to, because like I said, this is episode 82, and I just recorded 83 already, so that's like quite a fit of listening to there. So yeah, there's probably like 100 and something hours there already that I've got piled, because each one's an hour plus usually. So yeah, you definitely got a lot to listen to. So a lot of Franco content out there. So figured if he can make that many films, then goddamn it, I can observe and report and review and discuss and waxingly elongate on his films, or longingly waxing, or whatever. I'm sure I got it mixed around there. So like I tell you, it's late. Gotta get to sleep. Tell a friend, I tell you that. Also, too, if you want to get a hold of us, you can at Franco Observer at yahoo.com. You can also get a hold of us on Facebook at Franco Observer, or The Franco Observer on Instagram. Also, too, got shirts I'm selling of Lena and Jess artwork and other cool things. You can check those out on Redbubble. We got the t-shirts there for sale. Got 8 different designs, and got some other ones too, and we'll be adding some more. Sold a few up to Montreal, Quebec, so appreciate that. And I've been seeing those posted on Instagram, and that's really, really cool, so that's very good. All right, let me think. One last thing, which I haven't done for a while, is to do the Franco mission statement. And, of course, that is praise and in memory of Jess Franco, bringing the names and films of Jesus Franco to new eyes and ears, which I think I have done my part, and I will keep doing my part. As long as there's an audience, and as long as there are Franco fans and people that listen all the time or some of the time and support the podcast or tell people about it, I will continue to produce and put out content and give that back as much as I can. So thank you all for listening, and may you have a very good day or evening, and may peace be with you, and may a song be in your heart, and may you have a love to yourself that you will always love. Buenas noches.